Hey everybody, thanks for coming to another episode of My Angular Story. Today we've got your host Aaron Frost, and with me we've got Tomas. Tomas, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Of course. Hi, my name is Tomas Trajan, but Tomas is also okay, like international version, of course. And yeah, I'm a Google developer expert for Angular. Besides that, yeah, I'm working like as a consultant in Switzerland, writing blog posts about Angular since like almost 5 years, working in open source, like libraries, building like some side projects, getting slowly into like doing workshops and stuff. Yeah. In short.
Cool.
This episode is sponsored by Sentry.io. Recently, I came across a great tool for tracking and monitoring problems in my apps. Then I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the show and allow me to share my experience with you. Sentry provides a terrific interface for keeping track of what's going on with my app. It also tracks releases so I can tell if what I deployed makes things better or worse. They give full stack traces and as much information as possible about the situation when the error occurred to help you track down the errors. Plus, one thing I love, you can customize the context provided by Sentry. So, if you're looking for specific information about the request, you can provide it. It automatically scrubs passwords and secure information, and you can customize the scrubbing as well. Finally, it has a user feedback system built in that you can use to get information from your users. Oh, and I also love that they support open source to the point where they actually open sourced Sentry if you want to self-host it. Use the code devchat at Sentry.io to get 2 months free on Sentry's small plan. That's code devchat at Sentry.io.
So, what have you been doing lately in the Angular community? Anything cool?
In the Angular community, like I just released a small library which is very related to the Angular elements. So it's called like Angular extension elements, which is basically like a library which enables you to lazy load Angular elements with ease. So it's in the end, it boils down to like one directive and a service registry behind the scenes, just to not duplicate it. But yeah, that's something which I was just introducing like to a customer, enterprise customer. So that's like the newest thing. Yeah, I just released it like last week.
Cool. That's fun. How long have you been consulting?
Consulting, it's not that long, actually, maybe like 3 years, last 3 years, I would say. Before that, I was just like an employee. Yeah.
Just an employee.
Yeah, I mean.
That's cool. A lot of us are stuck in just employee land.
That's true. But I guess like it's a bit different in the US compared, let's say, to Europe. But yeah, I see.
Yeah. I recently got out of employee land and got to go to consulting, and it is a lot of fun.
No, I would say so. No, like you have also good impressions, right?
Yeah, I have. It's a lot easier to say, I don't want to come to the office. I'm going to stay home. And they're like, oh, okay. Like it's just a bit easier. So
I would say that flexibility is definitely like one of the biggest things. Or let's say even stuff like vacation or something, like it's just let's say it's much more flexible.
Yeah. So one thing about you that I didn't know is that me and you were both dropouts. We dropped out of college, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Why'd you drop out?
So the thing is, like, I'm originally from Slovakia, and there, like, the standard path is like, okay, you go to high school and then you try to like go to university. So I tried to follow that standard path. So after finishing high school, basically I went to technical university. And then, like, I really tried my best, but then again, like, there was also, like, at that year's, like, a lot of partying and stuff. So I kind of made it through the first year.
Did you say partying?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Here and there, you know. But like, I could make it through the first year, but then in the beginning of the second year, we got this like subject called like functional programming, and I remember to this day, I like went to the class, and there was a guy who was explaining, which I didn't know what it was back at that time, but now I know it was Haskell. And I saw this, and he was just going like so fast that I saw like some weird characters like on the blackboard, like he was doing it like with the chalk on the blackboard. And he was like, this is this and this is that, and like monad and this and that. And like, of course, and we move fast and like follow me on your notebooks. I was like, oh,
I quit.
Man, like really? I stood up, I walked out, and I never came back. like really like the. So that was, I mean, I still, like on paper, I still stayed student for a year. So I got like these student benefits, like cheaper travel, but I just didn't go to school anymore because I was like, okay, I cannot really do this. I just can't.
Yeah. I was similar. Well, not similar. It sounds like you went to a good college. I went to not a good college.
Yeah, good college, like Eastern Europe, Slovakia, like second city, whatever, like almost at the borders of Ukraine. Good for that place, let's put it that way.
So I just went to the community college, and I remember I wasn't very good, but some of my teachers were like, during class as they're teaching, they were like, "Huh, I didn't know that." Like,
oh, but that's
they were like learning from the textbook, like they hadn't even read. I was like,
yeah, I see.
"Oh, we did that last week. What do you mean you didn't know that?" Like, that was last
You're
week.
supposed to teach us.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just got to a point where in 2009, I stumbled across Stack Overflow. Dude, I was done. That was it. That was the end. Once I could answer my own questions, once I had a network of people to answer questions and help me, I could learn more in one night than an entire semester. And I one night I was doing a side project and I woke up the next morning. I was like, dude, I just learned more in one night than the whole semester.
That's very true. Like if you are really motivated and you are empowered by like this source of knowledge, whatever it is, if it's a friend or if it's like a website or whatever it is, and if you are really motivated because you want to get something done like that, you cannot compare that to like some second grade or third grade like public education. Like
totally.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm also in the end, like I'm self-learned because I dropped out. I mean, I went back eventually after like as an external student just to like finish like the to get the title, but like I didn't really learn programming in school. Like it was just purely like I had this one great friend who was already like very capable, like, well, at that time, right, like as a junior, whatever, but he could show me like, okay, like this is Java and you have a class and you could do stuff and like here is some frameworks, like, oh, what's framework? Like, wow, okay, like there is this stuff which is ready, you can just combine these things, like, okay, like I can actually get some stuff done. That was, yeah. And then maybe, you know, like you make a website for a friend or whatever, like something small, and then it's like this real motivation that you get stuff done, and it's not just like this purely theoretical exercise which is like not used anywhere, just to make it and throw away. So
yeah, I remember when they taught us Egyptian fraction.
Okay.
Egyptian fractions or something like that. It was some computer science algorithm, and I was like,
oh, at least you got to that. Like that's
yeah.
kind of nice.
I was like, all right, well, like I feel like I pontificated, and I felt like, I don't know, I just felt weird, like that we had even done that. And then my teachers were like learning alongside of me, which I thought was a little suspect. Like I expected them to know anyway. So I was like, I'm out. And I never looked back. I had a lot of fun.
And it turned out so good in the end, right? So like, you never know. You really never know.
Yeah. And I think a lot of like some of the better programmers, I mean, certainly this is a generalization, which is, they're never true, but I'll just say I know some really good programmers who didn't come from computer science, right?
Yeah.
And they have degrees in other things, or they're like you, they don't have a degree. Well, they're like me, they don't have a degree. You actually got a degree. I never got it.
Yeah, but this degree is really like the thinnest degree you can imagine. It's just like, okay, on paper, so like, okay, I have a master's degree, but like, you know, it was just like a formality, but it's not like it taught me how to do these things. So yeah.
No, it's cool. That's still cool though.
Yeah. And when you say like this different, like that they have degrees of something else or so.
Yeah, like English.
Exactly. Just completely something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Something totally different. So.
But the truth is, like, when I like look back, then I thought a couple of times already in my life that it would have been beneficial if I went like to a proper school, and plus I was capable at that time and like really got like this good basis like of the algorithms and data structures, because like already, like it's not that often because most of the time I just like do features or like some architecture, but there were some times when it would have been beneficial to be like more fluent in this kind of things. So like definitely if somebody has like a opportunity and capability to do it, then it's always anything you can learn is great to know. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100% agree. Let's talk a little bit, another something interesting about you. So you started freelancing and, did you just go like door to door and sell websites for like $200 a website? Like,
Yeah.
how did you get in?
Yeah, so that was like when I dropped out of school, I basically started working in like some very small design agency or like advertisement agency. It was basically my boss and me. So I was like a graphic designer and the printer and the delivery boy and like everything you can imagine. I was basically everything. He was boss, I was everything. So like from business cards to posters, and then like it slowly started like, okay, let's do like a simple website. Like, okay, let's learn a bit of HTML. So like paint the picture and just put it into tables or something. Okay, we can sell a website. So that's cool. And I was there maybe like 1 year. And after that, I was like, okay, like this boss is actually not really paying me. He's like 3 months behind on the salary. So
Really?
yeah. So I'm like, okay. So maybe I can just, do it myself. Maybe I get at least get some money, like compared to like, So,
Yeah.
yeah, but at the time, I was like school dropout, so he thought like, yeah, whatever. Like he was also not like doing that great, of course, because if he had money, he could have paid. So I was like, okay, this is not really going anywhere. So I'm working, I'm not getting paid. So maybe I can just like try my luck, right? So and then basically, really, I started like walking around my city and like so okay, there is a restaurant. So like, hello, can I speak to manager? Like I saw you don't have website. Look, I can do something for you. And some said yes. Some said yes. So
Wow, man. That reminds me of two things. One, when I was a kid, I went door to door and sold people religion.
okay.
I wish I would have been selling websites, to be honest. And then the other thing is one of my biggest heroes in like my career, his name is Paul Navisard. We call him PNAV. And PNAV did the same thing as a teenager. Like in the summer, he would just go to the mall. This is back in like 1994 or whatever, right? He'd just go to the mall and like go store to store, and he'd sell them a website with HTML and CSS for $300. Well, I don't even know. Maybe not CSS. I don't even know if cascading style sheets existed. I think it was just like
it was really back in the day. Yeah,
styles. Yeah, it was just HTML with inline styling. I don't even know. So
font stack and stuff like this. Yeah.
So that's funny that you do the same thing because literally one of my heroes did the exact same things. Yeah.
About 10 months before we started Ruby Rogues, which is the oldest podcast on devchat.tv, I went freelance. And one of the things that I figured out pretty fast is that I had no idea what I was doing. And I made a bunch of mistakes, but I also made a bunch of friends who were doing freelance. And we got together and we started a podcast called The Freelancer Show. And The Freelancer Show has been running about as long as JavaScript Jabber. But we talk every week about all of the things that we were learning and doing in freelancing and giving people advice on how to get their business started so that they could go out and be independent if that's what they wanted. Nowadays, I'm not on the show anymore, but we have terrific people like Reuven Lerner and Eric Dietrich that come on every week and talk to you about how they run their businesses and give other perspectives on things that you can do. So whether it's how to find clients or whether it's how to step in and start doing training or other programs or how to run a business, they have a ton of experience and they talk about all kinds of things that are going to help you pull things together and be successful as a freelancer. So whether you're thinking about moonlighting and trying it out or whether you're going whole hog and quitting your job, you should definitely check out The Freelancer Show. And you can find that at freelancershow.com.
Man, now that we are speaking about this, I remember one thing like which I didn't mention, but like as I was doing this and it was in Slovakia and also we didn't really have this concept like of copyrights, let's say, right? So it's like there was this abstract thing which maybe works like in the world, but not in my country. So it was like it was a common knowledge that like, yeah, if it's on internet, you just like download it and you just use it and that's okay, right?
Copy paste. Who cares? Yeah.
Exactly. And then like one day, like one of my customers for whom I did the website, he like wrote me. So we got this letter from like this and that, and we have to pay them like $10,000, like because like we infringed on the rights and we used like 3 of their pictures or something like this. I was like, what? It's like, I mean, like now it makes sense, of course, like, but looking back, like in that context, when I was like young and in Slovakia, like there was all like started, I was like, okay, so I made like $200 on it, and I'm supposed to pay like 10,000 like for a picture, which is like literally 200 times 100 pixels. I was like, oh my God. So do I go to like forest and hang myself, or what do I do? Like, I don't know. I was like, I was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. And like, luckily, basically, there was like more like this kind of a scheme where they like send letters to everyone. Like they have like these bolts and so on and so on. And they basically just like wait if somebody pays or not, and just like threaten them with a lawsuit, but actually nothing happens. And then after 2 years, basically, if they don't take action, they cannot do anything anymore, right? Because it's like this period, and then it's kind of like done. But that was like also very stressful time, let's say. When I thought like, okay, I don't do websites anymore. This is too crazy. So let's just do like let's do other stuff.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love those stories, man. These stories are my favorite parts about the My Angular story.
Yeah, sometimes the road can be like with so many twists and turns until you get to something like which is like stable and real, and it's definitely the case. I mean,
yes. So I have 5 kids, yo.
Oh wow! Congratulations,
crazy, right?
man! Congratulations, man! That's epic. That's epic.
Yeah,
I hope I will have 5 one day too.
So for everyone who can't see him, his eyes were like, wow, like
sure.
a lot of kids, yo.
Yo, but that's great.
And what it means is I'm pretty static. I mean, I'm pretty tied to this group of 5 best friends I have, right?
I see.
I don't get to just like take off and do my own thing. So there's another thing about you though that's like the opposite of me that I think is very interesting. You spent a year just kind of like nomad style.
Yeah.
Traveling around, hanging your hat at a different house every once in a while, doing blogs or whatever. Tell me about your digital nomad experience.
Okay, so we now like are kind of fast forward, because like as we stopped somewhere in Slovakia doing websites. So just like long story short, basically eventually I started doing like more real programming, like for real companies, like learned some Java, got into AngularJS, and then through that I like kind of got some offers from Switzerland, moved to Switzerland, which like if you know a bit Europe, then that's basically you do the same, but you get kind of like 10 times more or something like this. So
how far is Italy from Switzerland? Slovakia. How far is Slovakia from Switzerland?
It's only like 1,000 kilometers.
Okay.
So, and even it's actually even less, because like 1,000 is like from my hometown, which is on the east side. So like from Bratislava or something, it's maybe like 600-700. So it's so close, but like the life is like diametrically different. So
totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's like Eastern versus Western Europe.
But what about like, is the food the same, or is it totally different food and everything?
No, food is similar. It's just much better quality, let's say, in here.
Okay.
Anyway, so I came here, and I could basically save up some money to be able to do this like nomading. And then basically went with my girlfriend for a year of travel without much planning. Just like basically always need to know like one country ahead, because you need to have like a flight ticket away to get a visa to enter. And it was most like in Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia. So like Cambodia, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and stuff like this. Yeah, and it was cool. Like mostly we're staying like in hostels and like Airbnbs, and depends like in Asia, let's say in Australia it's expensive, so you have to cook like every day and wash the dishes in hostels. In Asia it's easier because it's like much cheaper. Like you can eat like everybody eats like street food and stuff like this. And of course like there was like a lot of exploring, like going to beach and stuff. But like when you are so long time away of doing something productive, then you kind of like get this like itchy feeling that actually I need to create something. I need to like write something. I need to like just create, like just not just like, like if you go to the 50th beach, it's like, it's nice, but you feel like you want to like also like create and provide, or like give, or I don't know, like
it's part of who you are. Yeah,
definitely. And also when you have this like more time off, like you get more like of this routine, and maybe you get like other ideas. So for example, at the time I saw like many people were putting like whenever there was like a release of Angular or React or something, then many people were like taking screenshot of the changelog and like tweeting about it. I was like, this looks like something which you can automate. Like that would be something cool to automate. Like they are doing it manually. So and then basically like somewhere in how is it, like a trailer, kind of like a trailer park in New Zealand, I started like working on the release butler, which is like this Twitter bot which automates exactly this. So there was like last day on the Southern Island, there was like this weird Airbnb where we were like crashing in the garden of some kind of weirdish family in a trailer. And I was like coding away. Okay, let's do get the release tags from GitHub and how do I connect to Twitter to how can I like tweet and like stuff like this. And in the end, like it was polished. And then actually one last thing I remember, when it was almost done, then we were like in Auckland in New Zealand, and there was like a public library, and that was great because you could hang out there for free, and they had like free internet, unlimited, and it's kind of like silent, and you get like a chair and stuff. So that was very cool. And suddenly there was like this weird guy, and he just like started screaming and like throwing around like the armchairs and stuff. It's like
what?
Yeah, there was like this guy who was like, I don't know, maybe like probably has like some mental issues, of course, but like he went to public library and he was like chatting with some girl, and then the staff came like to tell him, man, like you are too loud, this is library, please. I was like, no, like will not limit me. It's like he picked up like this armchair or something, like this kind of lightweight, thrown at the wall, and like that was
he's like Ghost Schwarzenegger on him.
Total berserk. Yeah. Get to the library.
Get to the library.
Read books and Dopia.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
That's a fun story. Those stories are fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. A lot of us, when we learned Angular, we tripped up and we stumbled and we had a hard time. What were some of the hard things you had to deal with, or like that you are dealing with? What's some of the harder things you battled with? So
the most recent for me was basically when with Angular 2, or just Angular, of course, but when at that time when it was introduced was Angular 2, it was introducing basically this whole concept of observables and reactive programming and RxJS. And I have to admit, it took me quite some time to like get comfortable. So like if people are listening and they're like, man, I'm having a hard time with observables, don't feel bad. Like, no, 100%. It takes really a lot of time. Yeah. It takes time to develop like intuition, like what you should do in which situation. I remember I was like Googling the same operator like for the 30th time. And I still do. Like I'm always going to this RxJS.dev documentation, which is actually amazing. I really love it. It's good. Yeah. Always searching for operators. They have this like cool like guide where you can click through like, okay, I have this and I need to do that and whatever. It really took a lot of time like to get like comfortable with these kind of things. Now, of course, I built some intuition. It's like almost 3 years. But this is also one thing which is actually, now if I think about it, it's easy to forget because now I understand it. But if I now look back because of this question, then I really can understand that like some developers who are just like starting with this now in enterprise, it just takes time. It's different and it takes time. There is no way around it. Yeah, there's no way around it. I agree. Yeah. I that was, if someone asked me that question, I would have said the same thing. TypeScript, because I had done Java and C# TypeScript, I loved. Same. I loved TypeScript more than I liked the types from TypeScript more than I've ever liked types, because I don't actually have to, like, TypeScript is like, hey, just use an interface. Don't actually make a class. And I'm like, oh, dude, I love interfaces over class. So like TypeScript was easy. Angular was a better approach than AngularJS. I liked Angular. I mean, what you said there, like if you have experience like with backend language, for me the same, like I started with Java, so then I used Spring Framework, so they were like, oh, dependency injection, finally, like I can do it like nicely with the interfaces. Like that's all, like if you have like this backend experience, they're like, yes, this makes sense. We know this is great since like many years. So this is all like kind of common, but this reactive stuff, that was not so common. Yeah, no, not so much. And I'd heard the React community talk about like unidirectional data flow and being reactive, but it wasn't a thing that I thought I needed to know.
But then once I started, oh man, it was hard, bro. I struggled. So now I actually, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about because.
Yeah, I know the conference, right? The RxJS Vegas. Was it already, or is it just coming? Or
yeah, we're like 3 weeks away. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll be close.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah, I love talking about RX just because two things. One, it was difficult for me. I like you explained how hard it was. Yeah, I felt the exact same thing. But two, once I got it, man,
it was like the best thing ever.
Like the favorite. It's my favorite technology I've learned in the last decade. Like,
it's just so powerful.
I can write half as much code and have twice as better performance. Like, it's crazy. It's so powerful. Like the team, Ben and OJ and John Nicholas and Mike Ladke and Nicholas James, like everybody, they're doing such good work, you know? And so I love RxJS a lot.
Definitely. Actually, like today I was exactly discussing this kind of things like with my colleagues, like at the company that like that just this, that when you call a function, all the function calls are kind of like in isolation. So it's very hard, or like you have to like write a lot around it to handle them together. But with the streams, this is automatic. You can handle them together. So you can like debounce them, you can buffer them, all these kind of things you kind of get for free, which would be very annoying to do like in imperative way with some like crazy state around and stuff like this. And it's just so useful in so many situations when you like start looking into it, that's like, priceless.
Yeah, I agree.
Over the last many years, we've had a ton of terrific people on JavaScript Jabber. And one thing that I realized over the last few years was that we were missing out on some of the real story there. So we would talk about the topic that they were experts in and help you keep up on what's going on in the JavaScript community. But I felt like we had these terrific people on there and we didn't really talk about who they were. So I pulled together a show called My JavaScript Story. And what we do is we interview the people that we've had on JavaScript Jabber or people just from the community. Maybe we'll have you on sometime. And we talk about how they got into programming, how they got into JavaScript, what they're working on, what they're well known for, and how they've developed their career. And some of the people are extremely well known and come from really interesting backgrounds. So if you're curious about how your JavaScript heroes got into JavaScript, then go check out My JavaScript Story. You can find it at myjsstory.com.
Well, that's good. So besides RxJS, I'm guessing that you'll say RxJS. So besides RX, what's like your favorite thing about working with Angular?
From my perspective, which is like mostly focusing like on bigger software, like for enterprises with many teams and many developers, is that it's like so standardized.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's like it's always, you kind of can follow like the same patterns which are like communicated very well, and then it's like very easy to even come to a new project and you know your way around like very fast.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is very important. And like also, as again, like if you have like some startup with 3 people, it doesn't matter, you can make everything custom. Yeah. But there are like big organizations with like tens of teams and hundreds of people, and then it would just not work if it was like everybody does something like totally different. Like,
yeah.
So that this ability to just come to some new customer or like to some new team or to some new project and be effective basically almost from the day one.
Very powerful.
Yeah, so this is for me like the standardization is like a great feature. And I mean, of course, it's not the best fit for every kind of project. Of course not. Like if I'm doing some small blog or whatever, static marketing website, then probably not Angular. But there is like, if I need to create large applications with many features, many screens, many forms, then like I need to be productive, and I don't want to like spend time like digging into details and making these choices over and over again. So yeah.
All right. So we're kind of run up against time. So is there anything else you want to share with the community? Any other like
so
anything else you want to share with them, or anything I forgot to talk about?
No, sure. Yeah. So maybe like if there are like some people, let's say from Europe or like even from Switzerland listening to this podcast, and I'm actually a co-organizer of Angular Zürich meetup. So check us out on the meetup. Come visit us. We are a open community of people like learning and sharing about Angular. We are meeting like every month.
Angular Zürich.
Yeah, Angular Zürich, exactly. Together like with John Kuntz and Carlos Morales. So that would be something very cool if you are like from the region to check it out. And besides that, like, yeah, if you're just starting with Angular and like want to see like some real life project, like with some examples of good patterns, I created Angular NGRX material starter. So you can find on my GitHub, Tomas Trajan. So that's something which can show you like how to use like Angular together with Angular material, custom themes, NGRX, stuff like this. So this can be like useful if you are just starting, and it has already more than 35 contributors or something. So also like people are contributing stuff, adding features, fixing stuff. Also some people then like ping me like that they build something with it. So it's pretty cool. So this can be like of use to some of you who are just starting, can be interesting.
Yeah. NGRX is another one of those things, right?
Right.
It can be difficult. So that's good. That's good that you built that. Thanks for taking care of the community.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to the segment where we do picks. Have you ever listened to the podcast? You know what the picks are?
I think, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to do my picks first.
Of course.
So I have 2 picks, and I don't really know how to say my first one because I don't want to come off as being mean, but anyone who's helping their users get off of Internet Explorer, I love. So I pick those people. Yesterday, I chased down an error from Internet Explorer that took all day long for 1 line of code. And Internet Explorer was like, hey, there's an error. And I'm like, all right, what line number? It's like, no. Unknown function. I'm like, what? What do you mean unknown function? Like, where's the error? Like, what's the stack trace? Unknown. What? So we just have to like, dude, it's like, you just have to change all the rules of programming when you go to IO. It'd be like going to a bunch of soccer players and like being like, all right, and you just change all the rules and make them play basketball. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just totally different. So anyone who's healthily and happily, not rudely, but very healthily helping people move off.
It's for the good thing. In the end, it's for the good thing. Let's be real.
It's for the better of the user too. So, and then my second pick, I'm going to call it the game. So it's called the game, Thomas. So when I drive around in the car with my kids, there's a lot of games you can play in the car. One of them is called Slug Bug. Okay.
Slug Bug. Okay.
Yeah. Like if you see a Volkswagen Beetle,
yeah,
you say Slug Bug and then the color. So like you see a yellow one, you say Slug Bug yellow, and then I get a point. Okay. And if you see one and you say, whoever says it first gets a point, right? So that's one game. So my kids have created this game that's it's insanely hard. Okay. And whoever gets the most points wins. But it's dude, okay, listen to this. If you see a green car, but it has to be like bright green, you say greeny meanie, that's 1 point. Yellow cars, you say yellow mellow, that's another point. If the license plate is from another state, you say the name of the state and then you get a point. If it's from another country, you say the country and you get 2 points. If it's a personalized license plate, like has their name on the license plate, you read it, you get another point. If it's a Tesla, you get a point. You can say Tesla, you get a point on Tesla's. Like, dude, there's like 7 rules in this game. And as you drive around, like, man, I have like PTSD from playing this game because I'm like, you're like so focused. You know what I'm saying? And my kids are like little snipers. They see it all, man. They see everything. It's crazy. So
that's crazy.
I'm going to pick the game.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to call it, the game.
Man, like when you were speaking about this, like your kids are Swiss or something, because that's like what Swiss do. They have like these random card games with like, it's like one game. It's always like the higher card wins, but like they have like one game is like 11 variation of that game with like random rules, like 20 random rules per one game, and they love it. They love it so much. I can't remember this stuff. Like it's like higher takes. It's like it's the primitive game, like higher card takes. But what is the higher card? Let's get 100 random rules. What is the higher card? Like
exactly.
Oh my God. It's something like this.
So those are my 2 picks. People who help get people off I-11 and the game.
Cool. So then I will proceed with mine. So I don't know how recent it is, but I really have to say that I am very huge fan and I'm very happy about the new NGRX8 simplified or shortened syntax.
Yeah.
With so much less boilerplate. I'm a huge fan. I think that was like one of the last things missing. Like people could complain, yeah, but we have to write so much. No, you don't have to write so much, right? You have to write much less.
Okay, there you go. You still have to write a lot, but it's less.
It's less. It's definitely less. So that would be the first one.
Okay. NGRX8 features the reduced boilerplate. Okay.
Exactly. And second one, which I'm falling in love with, is Angular Elements lately.
Yes.
And also like the reason for the library, but basically what it boils down to for me is like, if we have like in organization 30 applications, let's say, because and you navigate from one to another like seamlessly, and they are kind of different. But then let's say you have like a document viewer in all of them, right?
Yeah.
And then like if it was a library and you make a new release of that document editor library, then you would have to wait until all these 30 applications were released and redeployed to get it out, right?
Yeah.
So that would kind of suck, and it would lead to a situation when you have like multiple different versions in production and stuff like this, because we live in a real world, not in a fantasy world. So nobody has like perfect like non-stop continuous delivery of like billion applications like on every second. Like this doesn't exist, right? So, and this is where the elements come in, because if I reference this kind of component only through the URL, then I basically can get it in all those applications. Whenever I release it, they will just get it. And the file name, it can live like the bundle can live on some URL. It can be called element.js. There's not a problem because the server can calculate an E tag for me in the background. So I always get the newest one. So for me, this is such a huge game changer, like for the enterprise environment to get like for this kind of use case. So I'm becoming like a huge fan.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think elements in Angular 9, it will change the game for everybody. It'll be a game changer, huge game changer.
Already in 7, it's kind of cool, but like once it's with Ivy and smaller and so on, it will be even better. Like, yeah, I saw like some article from Manfred Steyer where he kind of wrote it by hand, but it will be all automated with the helper function from Angular, the same as is now. And that will be epic. That will be really epic. So can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be cool. Well, cool. Hey, Thomas, if anyone wants to get out in touch with you, what's the fastest way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best thing would be like just ping me on Twitter. So like my DMs are open. So it's like Tomas Trajan. Just like, write me a message, shoot me a message, and it's all good. Yeah, we can chat.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It was fun for me to get to know you better. I've seen you around half a dozen times, but this is the first time really.
We got to chat like nicely. Yeah, that's very cool for me. Very appreciated.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, and everybody, go follow him on Twitter. Give him some follows, and until next time, we'll catch you then. See ya.
Ciao and see ya. Have a great time.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CacheFly